வெல்கம் டு அவர் சேனல் பி சிம்பிள். இதுவரை நம்ம சேனலை சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணாதவங்க சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்க. மறக்காம பக்கத்தில் இருக்கிற பெல் ஐக்கானை கிளிக் பண்ணுங்க.
UNIT-6 The Hollow Crown Poem. 1. Pick out the phrase that suggests that the King Richard was sorrowful. Sorrow on the bosom of the earth. 2. Why does the king suggest that as now time for his will to be executed? The king thinks that his death is very near, so he suggests that it is time for his will to be executed. 3. What is the only thing we bequeath to our descendants? We bequeath only our buried dead bodies to our descendants. 4. What are the vanquished men left with? The vanquished men are left with death only. 5. What does the small model refer to here? The small model refers to our body's flesh here. 6. What does a monarch's crown symbolize? A monarch's crown symbolizes power. 7. What mocks the ruler's power and pomp? Death mocks the ruler's power and pomp. From your understanding of the poem, answer the following questions briefly in a sentence or two. 1. What do the three words, graves, worms, and epitaphs, refer to? The words, graves, worms, and epitaphs refer to death. 2. What does the executor mentioned in the poem do? The executor will execute the will. 3. Who is Bolingbroke? Is he a friend or foe? Bolingbroke is a cousin of Richard II. He is a foe to Richard II. Are all the deposed kings slain by the deposer? Yes, all the deposed kings are slain by the deposer. 5. What does the crown of rulers stand for? The crown of rulers stands for the power of the king. 6. What hides within the crown and laughs the king's grandeur? The hollow hides within the crown and laughs at the king's grandeur. 7. What does flesh mean here? Flesh means body here. 8. What are the various functions and objects given up by a defeated king? The defeated king should not expect any reverence from his followers. He throws away respect, tradition, form, and his ceremonious duty. 9. How does the king establish that he and his subjects are equal in the end? The king lives with bread, feels lack of something, tastes grief, and needs friends as all other subjects. So he is equal to his subjects. 10. Bring out King Richard's feelings when he was defeated. King Richard suffered from dejection and fear of death. He understood that the victorious king would come and get his life. He was in no way different from his subjects. Explain the following lines with reference to the context in about 5 to 8 lines. 1. Our lands, our lives, and all, are Bolingbroke's, and nothing can we call our own but death. Reference. These lines are taken from the poem The Hollow Crown, which is an excerpt from Shakespeare's Richard II. Context. The poet wants to say that Richard too had to face only death. Explanation: King Richard's cousin Bolingbroke attacked him and he knew that he would be defeated. He was with his loyal followers. At the time of utter dejection he uttered these words. He says now that nothing belongs to him. Whatever he has will be taken over by Bolingbroke after his victory. Their land and their life now belong to Bolingbroke. They are left with only one thing, that is their death. 2. All murdered, for within the hollow crown that rounds the moral temples of a king keeps death his court. Reference: these lines are taken from the poem The Hollow Crown, which is an excerpt from Shakespeare's Richard II. Context: the poet says that the crown was hollow without any real power. Explanation: King Richard's cousin Bolingbroke attacked him and he knew that he would be defeated. He was with his loyal followers. At the time of utter dejection he uttered these words. All the kings were killed, some were poisoned by their wives, some were slain in war, some were killed while sleeping. The king's crown is hollow in the middle, which means the power of the king is not solid and strong. Death is like a jester who grants the king temporary license to rule. 3. Comes at the last, and with a little pin bores through his castle wall, and farewell, king. Reference: these lines are taken from the poem The Hollow Crown, which is an excerpt from Shakespeare's Richard II. Context: the poet wants to say that even the castle wall is not strong enough to guard the king. Explanation: King Richard's cousin Bolingbroke attacked him and he knew that he would be defeated. He was with his loyal followers. At the time of utter dejection he uttered these words. People may think that king's body cannot be penetrated. But at last death comes like a pin and enters the body to kill him. So his followers have to bid farewell to the king. Paragraph. The Hollow Crown is an extract from William Shakespeare's play King Richard II. King Richard was attacked by his cousin Bolingbroke. Richard had a hope that he would get some more soldiers to fight for him. But later he realized that no one would come to his rescue. So he lost all his hope and was ready to die. He experienced deep distress at the horror of his circumstances. In that desperate situation he spoke of graves, worms, epitaphs and other things connected with death. King Richard yielded to dejection and talked of all the different ways in which defeated kings suffer, how some had been deposed, slain in war, poisoned by their wives and so forth. He attributed this loss of lives to death. However, death penetrates through the castle walls, silently and unnoticed like a sharp pin, thus bidding farewell to him and all his pride forever. Finally, Richard appealed to his soldiers not to mock his mere flesh and blood by showing reverence and respect to him. He added that he too needed bread to live, felt want, tasted grief and needed friends. He concluded thus, urging his men not to call the king, as he was only human, just like the rest of them. Simplified paragraph. King Richard II was defeated by his cousin Bolingbroke, who possessed all his properties. After that, King Richard II was sent to prison. Now he realized that he was also a human like others. Therefore he asked his followers why they called him a king. Death sits within the crown even though it stands for the ruler's high power.
Thank you for watching. இந்த வீடியோவை பற்றின உங்களோட கருத்துக்களை கமெண்டில் சொல்லுங்கள். இதுவரை நம்ம சேனலை சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணாதவங்க மறக்காமல் சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்கள், லைக் பண்ணுங்கள், ஷேர் பண்ணுங்கள்.